I had a chance to stop by and see my friend David Tyree, a Super Bowl winning champion with the New York Giants. He's the one responsible for the catch. You remember back in the day when the Giants played the Patriots and messed up their perfect season? He was the one who caught the ball on the helmet. Yeah, that's David Tyree. I had a chance to stop by and talk with him about fatherhood. So please take a look at this video and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What's going on, my Harrison Extended family? It is my honor and my privilege to be sitting here with the David Tyree. A couple of years ago, we had a chance to meet and connect and been friends ever since.
Absolutely.
And we are filming live right now from one of his establishments in Morristown, New Jersey, Clean Juice. I do appreciate you taking this time to sit with me. I know.
Man, thank you for coming all the way out, bro. The love has always been there. So now we're here, man. It's great to build a little deeper. Let's get into it.
So if for those of you guys who may not know, David Tyree played football for the NFL for the best team out there, the New York Giants.
You already know.
And in his tenure with the New York Giants, he not only had a chance to play professional football, but win a Super Bowl championship.
I did.
And I think I can go out on a limb by saying you were a catalyst, a key factor in Mr. Brady missing out on a ring. Like,
absolutely.
Like you single-handedly or maybe two-handedly, eliminated his chance of getting an extra ring.
Put that foot on the neck, man.
So I'll link in some videos so you guys can see what he did. But we're not here to talk about football. We're here to talk about a little bit something more important than football. I know that football was a very important part of your life, but as important football may be to a lot of men out there, there may be some things a little bit more important to you as a man.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. So I know if you could just tell a little bit about yourself to my Harrison Extended family.
Sure.
Let them know real briefly some of the things that you find more important, even more important than football.
Yeah, I mean, football was definitely a guiding force in my life that gave me interest, guardrails, and a little bit of a vision for life, right? Young man growing up, New Jersey, East Orange, inner city, Montclair, strong suburb of Jersey. And, definitely, shaped the early interest in identity. But at 24 years old, I got arrested on marijuana possession. And that was like a little bit of a crossroads for me. And when you're sitting in a place and you're NFL special teams Giants Rookie of the Year, and you have these accolades, and in so many people's eyes, you feel like there's the assumption that you've assumed success. And for me, I had a sober moment where it's like, I'm not doing life well, in that moment. And I cried out to God for the first time in my life. And that was when Christ really invaded my life, because I didn't grow up with any religious paradigm or upbringing. And in a couple of weeks, I was a new person. So literally at that moment, when he took the seat of authority in my life, football and all that came along with it became secondary. And it was a rearrangement of priorities as far as who I was as a father, as a husband, moving forward, and giving that paradigm the opportunity to really shape my identity, who I was, my priorities, and allowing that to be substantial.
Yeah. Prior to that moment in your life, what did manhood look like you? Like, what was, like, you growing up to be a man? What was you striving to be as a man prior to that point?
Yeah, I think it's the traditional, I don't want to say, it's the traditional vices, right? Like economic success, sexual prowess, right? Some of the glory associated with, and for me, I never had a strong appetite for fame, but we wanted to be something, someone. And, my father's always been present, but he wasn't in the home. So I grew up in a divorce home. But my dad was a tremendous example. But when the presence was lacking, we certainly grew up in that, 90s generation, emergence of hip hop, television, cable. So now we're looking, right, and growing up in that single mother home, I'm looking for what a man looks like outside of my home. So, I certainly fell into some of our traditional vices and traps, which are human temptations. I found all of my early struggles, started drinking early, smoking early, and I had some of those traditional athlete vices, even though sports, like I said, it did provide a sense of vision and gave me opportunities that I probably could have washed away apart from it.
Yeah. Okay, so you found you found God, right? And now it's a reshaping. What did that look like, or how did the reshaping happen in your mind? Like, what changed in your mind?
Well, everything changed immediately. I'll be honest. You know, I had my oldest son in college at 21 years old. So, you know, my wife is a trooper. God bless her. We weren't married at the time, obviously. I was uncommitted, you know, committed and uncommitted in our relationship. So I was grossly unfaithful. And, you know, but having that experience in college it's a grown-up experience. Having a child is a grown man's decision.
True.
And when you're a boy, you find yourself ill-equipped. When you're playing games, right? I tell boys play games.
Yeah.
Men go to work.
And that?
Right. So and it's okay, right? Like, so when we play in the cat mouse games, whether it's with women, whether it's with an immature approach to success, and success is variable or subjective. So we're not talking about blanket defining it, but there is a way.
Like contentment, happiness, like what makes you happy.
There you
makes
go.
you content. Yeah.
So, and we're playing these trivial games where it's about our own interests. And I think when we mature, it becomes about the interests of others. So having a child in college was one stepping stone, but being equipped to be it, I found myself ill-equipped because I still had my own desires. And going to the National Football League, while it gave me access to money and different things, I still had to deal with all of my shortcomings within. And that pivotal moment that Christ really found me, I felt like I actually had the power to love in a sacrificial way, where I could kind of lay my selfish ambitions aside. And I was now fueled and equipped to be the husband that I felt like I couldn't be without harming Liala at the time. And it was literally, everything was new. So my mindset was new. Of course, you have to learn it. It's almost like starting over, and you have to look for examples. You have to look for the person that you can potentially pattern your life after, that you find to be healthy, mature. You know, I call myself, I'm a little bit of a civil savage. So I still have some strong, you know, I know we having conversations around toxic masculinity, and while that is a real thing, there's an undertone that comes with toxic masculinity that is trying to diminish true masculinity.
I agree. I agree. I think that's why I have this channel, and I have my Harrison extended family out there, because we living in a time where we're trying to erase certain things that have survived or allowed our society to survive for so many years.
Absolutely.
Throughout all generations. So now we're trying to erase this idea of masculinity, and even to the point where we have two polarizing sides. We have one side that want to do with all kinds of labels altogether. Then we have the other side that define masculinity really as selfish. You need to go out and get yours and things like that. So masculinity is one of those things that I hold to very much. And I know everybody would have their own idea about what masculinity would look like. But to me, at the end of the day, a true masculine man tends to do a couple of things, and that's make sure that their family is taken care of and there's a legacy, that they're conscious and active in their community, not just by speaking, but being present and being effective in making change in the community. And like even the Bible, Paul tells men to act like men.
That's right.
Be masculine. So I think masculinity is extremely important. And I think when you do away with that, any society would crumble.
There you go. And we're sometimes afraid to say that. That, the strength of a man, and I always refer back to, you have to look at the breadth of history in relation to the human. Humans have been around for thousands and thousands of years. What's very new is our current culture and civilization. And even when we consider America being a very unique social experiment, not just with the value system of America, man, the strength of a man is what perpetuated the strength of a nation. So, if we really want to be honest, and I am about protecting, preserving, and uplifting women, but every concession that a woman or every opportunity has is only because a stronger man is paving the way and saying this is what's right, because a man is physically stronger. Right, and now we deal with weapons of war. We got nuclear, so it's not just bigger muscles; it's bigger guns, bigger nuclear. But that's still what actually governs nations throughout, is the strength of a nation, and that is the value of the male in protecting, preserving, And when you do it righteously, when you do it with consideration and care for others, your strength is for the service, security, peace, and prosperity of the people that you serve. And I do think it's those values that must hold true. And we can't be ignorant about how civilizations have sustained themselves throughout generations.
Yeah, and I think, there's some women who watch my channel also, and I think a lot of women tend to get offended by that because they think, well, what do you mean? Does that mean that we're not equal? And by no means does that mean you're not equal. Mm-hmm. You know, there's certain roles that are being played, and the thing is, we have to understand that every role is important. And I say this all the time to the couples that I counsel. There's some discussion about in some families I've helped out about the role in the home, and it seems like whoever makes the money is the more important person in the home, and that's an idea that's extremely false because every single person that's active in the home, even the kids, have a role and a specific function in the home that allows the home to flourish, right? So we have so I'll use this example. Husband goes out, he's working, right? He makes the money. The wife stays home and with the kids and maintains the home. Let's say, God forbid, they get a divorce, right? This man is now at a deficit, just like she's at a deficit. Correct. And what happens is we don't look at it that way. Yeah. We think of it as, well, the woman's at a deficit because she's no longer getting that money. Yeah. No, it's not just that. Like, he relied on her just as much as she relied on him. So what we tend to do is we look at the money and we say, well, he's more valuable. And it's not just men anymore, it's women as well. He's more valuable because he makes money. Wrong. You're both equally as valuable.
There you go.
So what you're doing in the home as a husband, if I'm working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, I can't possibly do that. I need you. You're just as valuable as the 40, 50, 60 hours I'm working. So that concept of, masculinity and
that's right.
And going out there, we got to understand that just because somebody may be making the money doesn't make them more valuable in a home or in a family.
It's such a valuable perspective, right? Because I do believe in roles. Yeah. Roles can be fluid, right? So whether it's about a financial role, but there's still within the DNA of every man is protector, provider. Yeah. Facts. And there's even some mental stability, well-being that goes along with my ability to either do or not do that very thing. Why am I hardwired that way? That's just the way it is, right? Yeah. So when we talk about protecting your village, protecting your tribe, it was men on the front line. And so, I can go and I've changed a lot of diapers. I have 7 kids, right? I've never been that great at it. And I've never desired. I'm like, oh, baby, let me go get that. Yeah. Right. And it's because there's some things that's more natural to her within her affinity and her role as a mother.
It's not like you won't do it.
No, I'm here for that. Yeah. I created all these kids. I put all of them in the oven. Yeah. So I think it's really important that roles aren't evil. They can be fluid. They can change, especially within a healthy marriage relationship. When we agree on those things, then there's empowerment that goes along with it. Yeah. And I think when we don't have clarity and agreement, then it can create some dysfunction and false expectations where there's always disappointment.
Yeah, or even negative ideas of what masculinity is about. Well, that's a woman's role, so I'm not going to ever do anything like that.
Exactly.
So and so let's segue into that. So we have masculinity, the protector, the provider. But there's an aspect of masculinity as well, especially biblical masculinity that has to do with unconditional love for your wife and for your family, and the desire to not just see that you're good, make sure that your kids are good, and that they have a legacy as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like this, so there's a more, dare I say, sensitive side to masculinity, where you look at your family, you look at your wife, and there's unconditional love there. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about manhood and how it works within the family area, like the love and. Thank you so much for watching this video, whether you're watching it live with me right now or watching the replay. We greatly appreciate your view and your engagement. So make sure you leave a comment down below about the topic that we're talking about. And also, if you would like to join the Harrison Extended family, you can hit the subscribe button on the bottom right and the bell notification next to it. It'll let you know when we upload new videos and when we go live like we're doing right now. All right. Also, If you would like to join the channel through memberships and support the channel monthly, we have very inexpensive tiers which will allow you to support the channel without breaking the bank. You can do so by hitting the join button on the bottom right of this video, or you can join our Patreon community by going to patreon.com/Harrison Family Value. So please, we will greatly appreciate your support. But even if you cannot give monthly or any kind of monetary donation, you can just subscribe to the channel, and by doing so, you'll be part of the Harrison Extended Family. So again, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have not liked this video yet, do it right now. All right, peace.
Yeah, I think what's so unique about biblical manhood is I've been given the charge to imitate Christ, the highest standard of manhood there is.
Yeah.
And I know our culture would like to muddy the water on who Jesus is, what he looked like, but when we really consider what we experience coming into true reunion and faith with God, and like I said, my mindset, my approach as a high performing athlete is I'm going to hit you to the glory of God. Like that's my mindset. So that's the way that I think about it as a man. So my approach was, wow, love my wife as Christ loved the church. Wow, that's a tall order, right? But that's the order. So, I know, this is a common conversation within the marriage, the issue of submission. Well, she submits to me on the condition I'm loving her like Christ loved the church. So I think the only thing that paves the ability for unconditional love is Christ. There was no unconditional love in the world until Christ came. That was a totally revolutionary idea. And it didn't exist that one could give themselves for people who never considered. One would care for the affairs of someone outside of their own ecosystem, right? So it's really revolutionary. When I consider it in relation to manhood, it seeps into every area of responsibility. I'm very practical because I believe practicality also precedes spirituality. So I can't ignore my responsibilities and call myself spiritual. Like that's
and there's people out there like they'll forsake everything and everything is spiritual. But where's the practicality of it? Like you just missed a whole week of work, and now you're jobless because you
talking about you praying and fasting for a week. Well, God called me to a prayer and fast.
Did you use your vacation days? I don't think I need to do it.
So I think there's a whole there's a lot of layers, but I have such a high standard, and this is not about a moral thing, but the standard of love, the enduring, the capacity to forgive, and when I think about the entire embodiment of love, it's the love that I have the ability to serve my wife and uniquely my wife, because there's a romantic element to it. I can't even romance, or the Greek word is eros. I can't even eros God. I can't unconditionally love God because he loved me first. So the only way I can love him is on those conditions that he loved me first. And then there's the affections that I can have toward my wife. That's the phileo. And then there's another love that we talk about, which is the protective love. You see all that love in its full measure that I can share within my marriage that provides safety, security, even for my children. And I think one of the greatest things that we can do for our children and our legacy is by having a healthy marriage that they can see, imitate, and find comfort that I'm safe and secure within this environment, even as I tend to do my responsibilities as a strong father.
And things like that tend to transfer from generation to generation. Your kids see that and they model it. Your kids see that and they tend to identify a potential mate based off what they see in their mom and dad.
Absolutely.
That's extremely important. And those are things that we don't even think about anymore. For the most part, some people do, but for the most part, we don't think like that because family's secondary. We live in a time now where, and it is what it is. Families 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago used to live within 4 or 5 block radiuses.
One of my favorite conversations, Dre, proximity. Go ahead.
Now, Tim will go to college in Seattle after going to high school in New Jersey, and will find a mate in Seattle and graduate at Seattle University or whatever, and then live out in Seattle. And now, boom, there's a family out there and family out there. Susie went to Miami State or whatever, like Florida State, and now she's living out there. So we don't. Family has become more virtual
It's true.
than close in proximity.
It's true. You know, obviously technology, and I'm talking about all the way back to the wagon and the automobile has
Yeah.
totally shifted the trajectory of what is possible.
Yeah.
But, you know, but there's nothing that could actually replace proximity. When we consider the challenges and the major strains that are even on families today, things like childcare, they didn't exist because you had grandma around the corner and grandma will watch the kids, right?
Or living in the home with you, because there was a time where you had 3 generations living in the home, and statistics show that children growing up in a 3-generation home grow up a little bit more secure and with a deeper identity of who they are.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the, I'm not even trying to necessarily go back to the old days, but I think we have to acknowledge the virtue that where we had some of those limitations that, and my goal is, and when I'm talking about to disciples and mentors, I tell them, don't be an economic refugee.
Yeah.
Don't uproot yourself out of a stable ecosystem where there's tremendous resources and care for the sake of a new opportunity that appears to be alluring.
Yeah.
And whether it's your family, whether it's your spiritual family, or other entities that are really shaping the stability of your life. And I think that's one of the tricks of the enemy that pulls people out. And you know, it's just like, hey, I got a new job offer across the country. And okay, well, how are you gonna get by?
Without
the
support of your family.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so this is like I said, the whole dynamic in relation to leading our homes. It's about having some vision and understanding on, and obviously with me being a man of faith, my life is simplified because God has a say so in every area of tremendous value. Even like He's not leaving me to just kind of figure it out. And I think that's one of the securities that we have. I have as a man of faith, but even so, the virtue and principle that we've seen throughout time, it's still there. The imprint is still there, and we have to just begin to find our way back. Utilize our technology, our growth, and our opportunities, but at the same time, not escape or evade those principles.
Yeah, I agree. So, amazing points. And so let's segue into now, we talked about family, we talked about just manhood. There was a gentleman, he passed away recently, who made a term pretty famous, the high-value man.
The high-value man.
High-value man. And I received a lot of criticism and blowback because some of the things that he spoke about as far as high value, I disagree with. I come from the thinking that value starts with character, and everything else should build off of that. Where there are people out there, a lot of men out there in the space, and so you guys watch this channel, you guys think that value begins with what's in your bank account or how many commas you have in your bank account. That may, add to it. But I look at you, I look at your family, I look at what you've done since retiring, entrepreneur, doting father, loving husband. You wear your family, on your sleeve, on your chest, like you wave them like it's a banner. You have a deep faith in God.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of men out there that will look at that and say, those are like weak stuff. Like, what kind of man actually thinks that a God exists, or there's a man that really loves his wife and kids like that? Like, he should be out there exploring options. and they even said that high value men tend to explore options or whatever. But I always say that without character, without discipline, you can have all the money in the world.
It's true.
And one mistake, because you moved in a very illogical way, could cause that what you considered valuable to be going like that.
It's true.
So when you think of value in a man, what comes to mind? Like, what is it to you? Well,
it's a very simple statement. Your values determine your value, right? So because I value character, because I value integrity, that becomes the foundation of my life. You and I, we share that thought process, because likeness to God matters to me. Yeah. That's the foundation upon which I'm building my life on, because it's sustainable. Everything else is fleeting. Yeah. So when we and the people who would maybe give honor and homage to the high value man and propositions with things that are temporal. They're temporal. And
that's a good point.
Yeah, so here like I said, at 24 years old, I look like the most successful dude. And my life, I find in that jail cell, it's a moment of brokenness and humility. I'm not saying that you can't rebound from those financial circumstances, but it didn't add any meaning or substance. Although I had reached the height of success, as you know, I was doing what every 24-year-old man would want to do. Banging chicks, smoking weed, and playing in the NFL, right? And bank account was fat, and I was miserable. So I think that's where people end up, on the side of misappointed values. That if you're worshiping money, that's going to be what you value. If you're worshiping achievement, that's going to be what you value. But the moment it slips from under your foot, it will leave you in a position where you're questioning every past decision that you've made, and it's just an uncomfortable place where I put my resources, my time, my energy into the things that are lasting. So I always say posterity over prosperity. So when we talk about legacy, posterity, my children and my name will carry on longer than my bank account. And all that's attached with it. The goal is not to be poor. The goal is to position my name to carry a legacy. With a legacy, wealth will come behind it.
That's I think that's also something that the gentlemen that are watching need to apply. And there's a lot of women out there that are single that are probably looking for what a high value man, and that is maybe something that you guys can glean from in your search, or put that on your list of standards. Because I'm not saying that you can't have standards, but if you're going to have standards, make sure your standards is in the right thing.
Yes.
And it's substantial and not temporal.
Trust me, my daughter's they're gonna have some standards. Whoever roll up on my doorstep, because he's gonna have to take care of my daughters. Right. So it's not to diminish the practical nature of, and but it says find someone that's comparable. Right. So when I was married at 24 years old, Liala, she starting a career as a nurse. Although I'm in the NFL, I was actually broke. We were comparable. We were comparable. I had a great opportunity for a career, but she took a leap of faith too. And so sometimes I always try to say is like, hey, we can have great aspirations and you want to marry up, but
a hypergamy thing.
Let's just find someone that's comparable, and especially when you're young, you can build a life together.
But you know what though? That's a conversation that a lot of young people are afraid to have, the whole building. I think that you have a lot of women out there that are afraid to building a boo. Right. And there's some men out there that just are confused about what it means to be successful, because they're chasing people that they see that they have no access to.
It's true.
Hoping to reach that. So there may be some valid parts, but like in between, find somebody comparable. And don't be afraid to build with one another.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what family is all about. It's about building. So if you're a lady watching this and you're concerned about getting with somebody who you would consider a buildable, I wouldn't say go and build a boo, but make sure that
build a boo.
So because here's the thing, right? You'll have somebody that has amazing skills. Let's say Tito is 22, right? Graduated high school, but started working at a construction company, right? He learned plumbing and electrical, right? And he's now getting into heating and air conditioning, right? In 5 years, this guy is setting himself up to make $130,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year, right? But when he's 22 and he's still working for this construction company, she's looking at him like, that's it?
Making $15 an hour?
Yeah, like that's what you can't offer.
You in trade school? What you going? What you doing?
And I think that sometimes we think so limited. Even men instead of investing appropriately, got to spend to have right now.
Consumers,
And I think manhood, since the 90s, since we've been watching hip hop and have been teaching us, we have to look a certain way. We don't really have to be that way. We just got to look a certain way. The image, we have to appear what it means to be a man. We got to walk around like we we that dude in the room.
It's true.
And when we go home, you know, we're going home to a studio apartment on the 5th floor with no elevator, sleeping on a mattress. And this is no like shade to those who may be in that position. No. But you don't got to stay in that position.
There you go. Yeah. And I think there's a part, you know, whether you fake it till you make it, and I think there's actual, you know, whether you call it the law of attraction. I know there's different things that people call it. Yeah. And I understand. You understand why there's the phonies in Hollywood. Meaning like they're trying to attract the success that they're looking for. Yeah. And I think it's risky. You know, is there some logic to it? There actually is some logic to it. So I don't ignore things that are actually, because some people are looking for that first crack. And if you don't fit the bill, if you don't, if like me rolling up and my 12 passenger, you know, van that's housing my family for a business meeting doesn't bode well if I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? So I understand some things like that. But if it's so far outside your means, it's not a lane that you can continue in, right? And I think that's the practicality that we have to consider as emerging men.
Yeah, emerging men. I like that. Yeah, and I think
because we're growing. I think that's the whole thing. Is number one, there's two different realities. You know, like sometimes we're afraid to pace ourselves. And younger men these days, there's like this rat race to be successful now. Yeah, right. We're listening and watching. Men who are in their 20s and they're millionaires and they're YouTube stars and they're social media stars. And so that pressure, that internal pressure is on for young people. I'm like, no, what pressure is there? Why do you feel the need to be successful in your 20s? Yeah. And I'm talking about like, listen, man, you don't even know nothing. Your brain don't even settle until you're 25. Yeah. So it's these things that we have to, you know, like this is why you need men in your life. This is why you need the proper voices. Harrison Family Values up in here, dropping these nuggets on them, just so that they can alleviate some of the anxiety about where they're going. And like I just feel like I'm settling in to getting the greatness done that I want to achieve. You know, when you start playing football at 10 years old, it's easy to understand how you achieve expertise at 22. Yeah, you know? True. But when you're like you said, when you assume a trade at 20. You're not going to be really great at that until you're about 30, 35. That makes sense. Yeah. That's logical. Yeah. So we just got to get back to some of these, you know, setting the right pace. And it's not that you can't find early success. Yeah. Not that you can't hit the jackpot, but you want to have the character to sustain it.
And I think that's an important thing because sometimes we want our money to be at a place our character can't match it. So what happens is because our character can't match it, we lose it right away.
It's so true.
You know? And I think sustainability, like men usually claim to operate logically. And when you do that, you make decisions logically. That's right. So when it comes to money, you know, you're not looking to splurge. That's right. When you get in relationships, you're looking to make sure that you're not going to put yourself out there so much that, and let's say you are financially high value. Yeah. And I say this often on my channel. You can have, you know, millions of dollars in the bank, right? And you can be a player. You can be out there, you know, sowing your rural oats. You know, you're doing your future, your Nick Cannon thing, right? You're out there doing it. The problem is this, and I say this all the time, man. Maybe because you know I don't have, you know, one day I will, but I don't have like millions of dollars in the bank right now.
Don't worry, me neither.
I don't understand how somebody who has that. Who claim to think logically, and this is men, would go out there and risk sleeping with multiple women and risk getting them pregnant. Yep. And now your finances are now being divided across multiple families. And I think that that's a financially irresponsible way of living.
It's completely. I hate to be so strong, but it's just like it's retarded. Yeah. And what I'm saying is, even in the long term, those children are going to grow up and they're going to recognize. And I'm not saying he's not going to love them and be committed to, but he's going to be spread out in his efforts and pursuit. We've all been in the seat of being a young man, having the desires and relationship, having the example, and for every moment that I'm not present, there's a longing. Right, there's a longing for someone to find that sense of worth, satisfaction, and value. And, you know, and especially for the young male looking for for that father. And with every new seed that just with this example that a man drops around the world, you're less available
Yeah.
to the ones
Yeah.
that are going to be looking for you in that way. So
Yeah.
when you talk about the presence, and the first few years when they're up under mom, and it's not as big a deal. As they grow and they're becoming and they're formulating thoughts and ideas. Your phone call might not be good enough,
No.
and a sense of bitterness
Yeah.
can begin to really rile up.
If there's a recital, they're going to be looking for you in the
That's
audience.
That's
if there's a game, and at the foul line, they may be looking at you for to calm down and to get that piece. So that's extremely important. I think I'm glad I'm having this conversation with you, because there's an idea of manhood that I really want some men out there to sort of have that shift in their thinking. Manhood is not just about me getting what I need to get for me and being successful and collecting notches on my belt along the way.
It's irresponsible. It's selfish and irresponsible.
Yeah.
Because it negates responsibility. It genuinely negates responsibility. And like when I consider it, the height of it, it says, you put away childish things. Well, one of the things that as I'm raising young men, I'm trying to teach them responsibility. I'm trying to teach them, hey man, brush your teeth, make your bed, right? It's the practical things where you're learning how to rule well, right? You're learning how to manage your life. You're learning how to be detailed and responsible. Take out the garbage. Why? Because when you own a home, these are the practical things that you're going to have to be responsible for, and you're going to have to command and expect when you blossom and begin to choose to make a family. And it's the responsibility and our ability to serve our home in that way that actually really sets apart the man from the boy. And that I'm not selfishly serving myself in my own interests. Yeah. And so, it is the most important conversation.
Yeah. And I think we have to be able to comfortably differentiate the difference between a man and a boy. I said before, and I wrote this in my book, age is not a barometer for maturity.
No.
You can be a 35-year-old man and still think like a 17-year-old boy. So, responsibility is one of those key elements of what it means to be a man. Okay.
True.
I don't want to take up any more of your time. You got a business to run, but if you can encourage the men out there watching, and I'm pretty sure that the women are watching too will receive some encouragement as well. But as far as what it means to be a man, right? If you can sum it up, how would you sum it up? And I think it's important because, again, there's this idea about manhood, and I wanted to have this discussion with you because you really can't get more manly than I'm serious. Like,
I'm a real one, man. Like when I say I'm a real one, it's because even obviously at a young age of 24 years old, reaching the height of success in a position where all that our society projects will make a man failed me. And for whatever reason, I was able to soberly assess my life at that moment and recognize I'm not who I thought I was. I'm not leading well at 24 years old. Yeah. And so what I've understood and grown to understand is that every man is made in the likeness and image of God. If you're going to reach the height of manhood, you're going to have to recognize the similitude and the nature of who God has called you to be. Step into some measure of purpose. Well, even if you don't believe in Christ as your Lord himself, there's still some virtue and practical things that no man can escape from. And I think that's character. What is character? Your discipline, your self-control, your capacity for self-control, emotional stability, identity, right? And your value system, what you believe. You have to begin to synergize that around something that's long-standing and stable.
And how you operate in what you believe.
There you go. Your ethics and how you live that out, right? And then, like I said, I think the height of it is, walking after the similitude of that purpose in God. And I think because of the work that God has done in my life, the integrity is our sense of wholeness, right? So to me, the difference between character and integrity is basically who I am. full time. Reputation is what others say about me. Integrity is the soundness, right? So we always focus on just one's ability to keep their word.
Yeah.
But to me, integrity is about being whole. It comes from the word integer, right? So when you think about the integrity of a building, you have to think about the integrity of your life. Will it hold when the pressures of life begin to bear down on the weight of the life that you've built?
Yeah.
And that's how you continue to measure yourself. Life is always going to hit hard. Nobody hit harder than life, right? And in that moment where things begin to unravel, you have to look at your life and say, well, what are the weak spots? What are the cracks? And that's where I begin to assess myself, humble myself, and pursue the very things that I'm looking to see in my own life. And I think that's part of the road to maturity and manhood.
Thank you so much, man. Like, this is good, man. Guys, listen to everything he just said. Now, he also has a podcast that I really want you guys to connect with. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Man, please check us out. Catch the Moment Podcast. My Instagram is DTyree85. I mean, my life, everyone recognizes typically the helmet catch and the Super Bowl. And Catch the Moment is really just about the fact that there's so many people, like yourself included, who have had a moment of achievement, a moment of success, some more known, some not as known. And what's the journey? What's the pain point? What's, what is the mental makeup that causes you to arrive to that moment? Being more than just a catch was an old book that I wrote.
Which I recommend you guys get.
And it just shares my journey of faith up to the Super Bowl. But there's been so much more life and substance, leading a family of 7, being in a position of a front office role. And now Catch the Moment creates conversations with amazing people, as well as just sharing these nuggets along the way on where I found myself as a leader and a servant of all. So, definitely check that out. So on all platforms, YouTube.
Check it out.
Check it out. Good stuff.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. And until the next upload, the next live stream, this is Harrison Family Values. If you have not done so yet, hit the subscribe button, because you made it this far and have not hit the subscribe button. Hit it now. And by doing so, you'll be joining the Harrison Extended Family. And what else? All the YouTube stuff that people tell you to do. All right? All right.
Get all that.
Appreciate you all for watching. God bless, and we out. Peace.